According to Axios, the right-wing media outlet Daily Wire supplements revenue right now. In fact, they got about $22 million sold last year by selling woke-free products. Now, Scott Baradell is a branding expert. He heads up Idea Grove. It's a full-service marketing company, and he's joining us now on Portland's Afternoon News to discuss this. Hey, Scott, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we all saw the Bud Light marketing backlash over their Dana Mulvaney endorsement. The Axios report suggests that there is a push now by some companies to court right-wing folks. What are you hearing specifically about that?
Oh, absolutely. It's been going on for a while now, and through platforms like the Daily Wire, there's a great vehicle for getting products out there that let people express their values. There was a survey not too long ago where people were asked if you were given two products that were otherwise similar, would you choose one based on the values aligning with your own? And over 70% said yes, the values would be the difference in the choice they made. So I think that's been true for some time. Since 20 years ago, you had Tom's shoes, and they were giving away shoes to people in poor countries whenever you bought a pair of shoes. And that's an example of values being embedded in a purchase of a product. And this is an extension of that in a time where things have gotten more and more polarized.
Yeah, to say the least. You know, just this morning I read that conservative video sharing platform Rumble is now selling coffee. They've branded it $17.75, vowing that not a single dollar from your purchase of that coffee will ever be donated to, as they put it, woke political agendas. And there is also ultra-right beer, I believe is what they're calling it. And the manufacturer in that case actually featured Donald Trump's mugshot on one of the cans. Creative, but I mean, aren't these products limited because they're only being marketed to maybe half the country at best?
Well, most products these days have a market that is fragmented in one way or another. It's a lot of brands that are very successful have decided we can't please everybody, so let's focus on who we can please. In the case of coffee, that's a great example because it wasn't too long ago that the conservative darling among coffee brands was Black Rifle Coffee. And Black Rifle Coffee, founded by veterans, really seemed to support traditional causes, obviously rifle in the name, Second Amendment, all those connotations. But then they said a couple of things that certain conservatives didn't like. Someone looked into political donations among their employees and said, oh, they've been giving to Democrats. And suddenly they weren't the conservative darling anymore, which created an opportunity for 1775 brand coffee. Now, keep in mind, it's not just on the conservative side. There's a coffee called BLQK, which was formed by a former NFL player. That is all the 10% of its profits go to support Black communities. So it's all over this kind of fragmentation and trying to find your kind of tribe or audience that maybe aligns beyond whether a product is good or not. It's happening everywhere.
You're listening to Portland's Afternoon News, and we're talking to marketing expert Scott Baradell from the marketing company Idea Grove. Scott, besides ignoring, about half the country, do you think right-wing companies should avoid this kind of marketing for fear that maybe they're going to alienate people who are just getting burned out on politics?
Well, no, I think the reality is that there are always folks that are burned out on politics, but the trend for some time has been that people are factoring their values more and more into the buying, not less. And so it might be putting your head in the sand to say, let's completely stay out of it. However, the key here is the product just a gimmick? Is ultra right beer actually good beer? Because that's going to be the question. It's not going to last if it's not good. If something is good and aligns with certain people's values, that's actually going to strengthen it. But if it's just a gimmick, it'll be a flash in the pan.
Do you think there's a marketing opportunity here for people and companies who want to avoid politics, who want to avoid just a niche audience and try and somehow figure out a way to, as you said earlier, please all the people all the time? If so, how would you advise them to proceed?
Well, I think you need to understand that there's a difference between having values and choosing sides. So, for example, A brand isn't being political if it says we're sustainable, we have sustainable business practices. But if you start saying climate change, suddenly you've gone from saying something that everyone's okay with to saying something that's going to tick half the people off. Same thing, like people, if you show diversity in your approach to marketing and how you approach hiring, all those things, generally that's received well. But if you start throwing around the term DEI, political hot button, half the people are mad at you. So a lot of these times it's like there are easy ways to avoid some of these minefields if you know where the minefields are.
Gotcha. All right. Well, he is marketing expert Scott Baradell. Hey, Scott, thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks for having me.